And here we are. Welcome to another episode of Tai Chi for You. As you can see, we have a guest this week. Dr. Amanda is here, back. And there was really a lot of, I don't want to say unanswered questions, but I got a lot of feedback as to, tell us more. I'm like, well, let's get her back and we'll hear more about all the benefits and the different, really all the applications, different things you could use these patches for. Mm-hmm. But first, I just want to say hi. I have 2 new followers. I'm up to 594, so I need 6. Yes, 94. I need 6 more to get to 600. So if you have any friends that you haven't bothered yet to like this page, that'd be great. But they were from 2 sisters. One was from California, and the other one was from Oregon. So I just wanted to give a shout out. They actually do Tai Chi and Qigong out there. They told me it's been a while, but so it's good to hear what else is. It's not just us in this little community. That if you learn something, that's why I enjoy sharing it. I learn it and I share it, and hopefully it goes out and travels, and then that happens on the next level where that person enjoys it and they share it. But I think that's all the updates. Usually I try to kind of figure out everything, but we did have a great class again this week at the Northbridge Senior Center, and that's Mondays at 11. And if you're new to the area, you're new to Tai Chi, stop in. It's really a welcoming beginner's class as well. If you've done it for a while, I can definitely fine-tune you and really go deeper with the class on whatever level that you feel comfortable at. Because Tai Chi, it's not a team sport. You want to be able to do it and get the benefits for you. You listen to your body, and then that's how that works. It's a complete mind, body, spiritual workout, I guess, if you want to say a spiritual workout. But it's that nice connection that you find to that inner self of yours. And it's also called a moving meditation. Most people, think they have their definition of meditation, that's sitting on a pillow and humming and doing all that. And no, you can do the Tai Chi, and that's part of the meditation where you go inward. It's an internal martial art. So I think that's all the thing. And we don't have to talk about the weather. It's been hot, right?
Yes, it has.
We have a heat wave again. That's happening.
Well, I guess even our background showing heat, right? With the grand.
Oh, look at this. Yeah. We got a heat wave behind us, too.
So what does Tai Chi stand for?
I guess it doesn't really stand. No, that's the whole. Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a couple thousands of years old.
Yeah.
It's really been passed down, and it seems to stay pretty true to the form. Like if someone could magically come back from 1,000 years ago and they saw us doing Tai Chi, you'd be like, oh, let me join.
They know what it is.
Yeah, and they would know what it is. But it's right now, I think they have sort of fine-tuned it and adapted it more to modern life, because the original was 104 moves.
Oh, okay.
So there was a it's just people don't have the time, so that's the most so that we teach the 24 form.
Oh, okay.
So there's 24 moves, but it's a complete head to toe workout where there's the core, balancing your legs, your arms, your shoulders. So you get a complete body workout, as well as that internal, starting with the with the core, and just you start to feel that what's happening internally in the body as the hands up. You start to connect to the tissue and the fascia and all that that's moving. It isn't just I'm moving my hand. No, everything's connected. It's coming up through the leg for balance as this hand reaches out. Yeah. So it's again, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking about it, but just as much as you enjoy talking about your
Yes,
patches. How about that?
Exactly.
All
And
right.
just honestly, overall health. That's the biggest thing is when you're able to talk about how people are able to really know
Right.
themselves.
Right.
Um,
No, you help people otherwise. You're not just say, oh, here's a patch for this, here's a patch for
Right.
that.
Yeah.
People come to you,
yep.
and it might be a diet thing. It might be
Exactly.
some sort of physical therapy thing
Right.
or
I
something.
mean, I even named my business Ask Coach Amanda purposely because it's like, ask me, and then I'll see what I can at least provide you as far as an understanding, education, knowledge, health tip, or possibly even a recommendation if that's necessary, or something to ask your own personal doctor about. So, yeah, I always say, just ask Coach Amanda.
Right, and
Yeah.
again, you take it to where you want. Okay, some people like to investigate and understand things on their own. Otherwise, you gave them enough, now they can go to their doctor
Exactly.
and say, you know, here's a list of things that we talked about, and come up with something that works.
Yeah, and take it to that next level. And I think the reason, again, why I was mentioning, I really focused on what are those concerns so many people were asking and had questions about, because I talked to almost, like I was saying, 10,000 people. I even kept a spreadsheet of how many people I talked with, and I kept hearing the same concerns or questions showing up in those different buckets that people would say they're really frustrated about. Maybe the doctor doesn't have enough time to listen to them, and they were doing some research into the best vitamin or the best supplement, and they're getting confused on it, or I need to get certain labs done, but I'm not sure which labs I should get done for which condition I might have. And you look on one website, it says something different than another, and insurance is only going to cover X or Y amount of things.
Isn't that something else too,
Yeah.
dealing with insurance?
Which
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably, people might even ask, can Tai Chi even be covered by
Well,
insurance?
and again, I choose my battles, so it's like, I can write you a receipt and you submit it, but there has been instances where one student came and it was the doctor, he wrote it up as a 6-week prescription of Tai Chi, and that got through.
Very
So,
nice.
however if you're on good terms with your insurance, see what they can do for you with getting, you know, some help and getting you some information that you feel will benefit you. Because again, you got to be your own advocate.
You do. And even providers have to be creative on how they're going to be able to write something. I mean, I've even heard recently that they're even talking about doing prescriptions for food. So eating fruits and vegetables is now a new type of prescription that they're giving people to make sure that they're able to get the right foods in their diet and be able to afford those foods too for some people.
Yeah.
So it is
So
amazing.
Fruit Loop isn't a food.
No, Fruit Loops.
You gotta give me something I gotta peel, and it's real.
Yes, has the fiber. That's so important. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah.
I think I kind of mentioned a little bit about how it's important when you're sitting down to eat some food or a meal to eat the fiber first. So if you have vegetables on a plate like broccoli and some green beans, and then you have some red potatoes and you have some meat, the first thing to eat would be the highest fiber content food, which is your broccoli and your green beans. And
Okay.
that's because it helps to create a matrix in your stomach. And so it helps you to become fuller quicker as well. And it also decreases that glucose spike that would happen when you go to eat the carbohydrates. So you have the fiber first, then you have the protein, and then you have your carb.
So you talk to people about diabetes concerns?
Definitely insulin resistance is another huge area that I go
Yeah.
to. So diabetes is a result of, especially type 2 diabetes, of insulin resistance that's happening. And that's just meaning that over time, the cells in the body are becoming resistant to that insulin there because it's used to so much glucose in the bloodstream.
Now, would that work on that level, or is that another whole?
So that's a new patch that they're going to be having to work on. They are aware that metabolic disease states, especially diabetes being a primary one, is a concern of so many people. But there is a patch in there that helps with resting metabolic rate. So that patch, it literally will say, do nothing and burn calories. So what it helps does is to increase that your metabolism. It increases it up to about 40%. They've actually have a measure that they can check to see how much your metabolism is able to increase.
Now, is that something, it's not a caffeine patch?
No, there's nothing in the patch.
There's nothing in these patches?
This is something that I will say
Okay.
has been causing a lot of like questioning and
Yeah.
it can't be true. I even had a doctor of physical therapy. She has these patches too that she has for her patients that she's out there just letting them know, here's another thing you can use on top of the current modality that you're doing, which is a lot of physical therapy related exercises. Well, she'll provide them the patches and someone said, I'm serious. I looked it up. I went on, which we know, Dr. Google likes to tell us lots of different things, but they went on there and they said, this patch, it's found to have melatonin in it. And these patches, they truly do have nothing in it. Nothing is in it except for a pattern. And what's on it is an adhesive that's similar to 3M surgical tape. So if you go to a hospital or you ever have an IV put in and then they're placing that tape over the IV, that would be like that 3M surgical tape. So that's adhesive. That's what's on it. And then in it is a pattern. And the pattern is what your neurological pathways are picking up, like Braille for the brain. So there's no melatonin in these patches. There's nothing.
Okay, Braille for the brain, because it's like, you kind of lost me. There's nothing in it, there's nothing in it. But then
Braille for the brain.
Braille,
Yes.
yeah, for the brain.
Yeah. So the best way to think about this is, how does a blind person read? And we know they're reading with Braille. And so what's happening? Their fingers are touching a pattern. And what's the pattern sending to their brain when they're touching this pattern of dots? It's sending words.
Wow.
It's sending images.
So I don't want to say the technology's been around for a long time, but I guess the idea of sort of talking to the brain through the.
Well, it's amazing how our skin, the receptors in our skin, pick up things like hot and cold. It's picking up those sensations. An insect lands on your skin, and right away, sometimes without even thinking, we're like brushing it off. So we haven't even a reaction that takes place within milliseconds that is happening. So just imagine now you've got that pattern that's sitting there, and without you having to feel anything, it's already speaking. And the fascia is another interesting thing to think about because that's all throughout our entire body.
Right.
How you're even talking about when you're having the movements and you're feeling the fascia that's in our body. We don't necessarily feel it, but that's how I'm even able to kind of do these things, movements, and that's how quickly.
So would you get more benefit if you sit there and did curls with the thing on your hand, or you just set it and forget it?
You could set it and forget it. Very good, nice question there. So there are different patches out there and available that people might say, oh, is this patch like, they're all different patches.
I'm thinking of the one that you just, the commercial there, they slap it on your back, but see, that has stuff in it, though.
Salonpas.
So, yes.
Yes.
Like a menthol, it has
does.
something.
Exactly. It has a medication in the patch, pretty much,
Right.
that is getting released through sometimes heat.
Yeah.
But
it's not going to that
neurological pathway.
level, right.
No, it's keeping on. Basically, it's going more into the fascia, into the muscle.
Right.
And then it kind of stays there. It's not getting picked up
Yeah.
by they're called ion channels, but being picked up that way into the brain and then like going in and resetting.
So
through the
is there
nervous
one
system.
for like sore muscles?
Yes, there is a Freedom patch that works on pain, and that particular patch, it depends on the person. Everyone's different, but I've had people who experience relief from that pain within literally 5 minutes, and other people who say it sits on them It could take up to 24 hours. And then some people were like, I didn't realize how much it was getting rid of pain until now it's the absence of something. It's amazing what our brains or our bodies does. It's like, do you walk around every day going, I feel healthy. I feel good today. I don't have a cold today. You don't necessarily think of it. But then when you catch a cold, you're like, I haven't felt so sick before, or I can't believe I'm sick, or when am I ever going to feel healthy again? It's like until you have the absence of something, you don't recognize it. But when it's not there anymore, now we definitely recognize it. And I don't know if you ever see that in Tai Chi when someone's like, I didn't realize my muscles. I haven't had these muscles before.
It does happen because you might not. I mean, the simplest form, when you go slow with the movement, so many things are firing, and you're trying to balance, you're trying to control the speed, and at the same time you're starting to visualize the chi
Okay.
or the energy, or just again, it's I get people that they're optimistic skeptics when they come into the class, so they like the idea of, okay, this may help. So, I mean, you can take a placebo and there's a 40% chance that that'll help. And if you do Tai Chi, there's studies out there that show it does help with, an arthritis or another injury, things like that. So, between just thinking that and doing the Tai Chi, you got a pretty good chance of seeing a positive result.
And I love how you added on there the placebo effect, because that just shows how powerful the mind really is. When you think about a placebo effect, that literally is you just believing that you're going to be better because you're taking something.
Wasn't there some, I guess, a famous scientific experiment where it's like a box? It's called like the guy that invented it. So you don't see your hand.
Oh, I've not.
And the guy, yeah, it's got something to do. So, yeah, I'll have to. Again, it just came to me, but if anybody out there knows about that experiment where you don't see what's going on, but you feel it with that hand.
Oh.
Or what's the other one there where you're blindfolded, and just before you're blindfolded, he goes, all right, I'm gonna, and he, had the lighter, and he's, warming up the needle. He goes, I'm just going to touch you, let me know when you feel it. So like you're waiting for it to, and he just pulls out his pencil and he just taps it, and they're like, ah! And they would actually some people would get a welt because their brain, it's like, I got burned.
Yeah.
And then he's like, take the blind, he goes, it's in the ashtray. I just touched it with my pencil. So
wow.
For the mind to take over a situation.
And that, I mean, because Tai Chi, so Chi's energy, right? Like, it's just, imagine like the energy that obviously our mind is able to give our body and everything that we do. And then when I think about these patches, and it's like, some people want to say, well, if there's nothing on them, and it's hard to understand, haptic vibral tactile technology is what really is behind the patches. So that's where it's saying that basically the technology behind it is the fact that it's utilizing something that's somewhat similar to our cell phones have this too, where when they vibrate, we're able to feel it too. And so it could even be across the room, and it's like you hear that vibration, or in a sense you're like, I think my phone's going off. Like there's just something there. But
so was this? Did it come from the military?
Or
have they?
Haptic vibral tactile technology? I don't recall where it directly came from. Not the military though.
Okay.
But definitely science I looked at it. So it's
well, that's where we got GPS. We got.
Yes.
It seems to come from
and our cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tracking devices that we all now love to carry around. But this was utilizing the science of two Nobel Prize winners who were scientists who looked at the fact that our skin has on it two primary receptors, the piezo 1, or you could say piezo 1 and piezo 2, piezo 2, but primarily the piezo 1 receptor on there is what's helping to pick up and send messages to our neurological pathways.
Okay.
So that's what it really kind of focused on. Yeah.
So, we talked about, I guess, physical things for it to benefit, but what about more, again, mind things, like maybe an addiction or
Yeah.
a depression, things like that, looking at somebody, oh, great shape, and it's like, no, he's a wreck,
Right.
Yeah.
They've got great balance. They're not in pain. It's like, what could they really use a patch for or not?
Right.
So interesting enough, when I was looking into these patches at first, and it came to about somebody who was having neurological or neuropathic pain, basically, and they were on medications to help with that. In the meantime, I was also looking to see what could people who were dealing with focus issues, or some people would say, I just know I'm not able to concentrate the way that I should be able to concentrate. And we all know there's different medications out there that can help people with that particular type of ailment, especially children. So what's available for them that they don't have to be possibly addicted or always on a medication for the rest of their life? So that caused me to kind of look into what is available too. And there are patches that help people when it comes to focus. So the fact that sometimes it's just hard for us to concentrate and be able to focus. I was excited to know there was a patch for that. You asked particularly for addiction. Are there patches that could possibly help someone who might have an addiction, like having cravings for cigarettes would be considered an addiction that's there. And they know that that's also something that has a neurological pathway set up where people feel they just have to have something, and that's part of a craving. And the craving isn't necessarily for food, but it's still a craving that's there for
Right.
that's a neurological pathway.
And that might be just the little bit that you need, because, I'll use myself for an example. It's like, I don't want to say I'm addicted to TikTok, but, my brother, stop getting your news from TikTok. You're on it, you wake up, you got to check your phone. So I know that's not good, but I guess it is an addiction.
So it's a cycle. You got to
It's a
break somehow
cycle,
this
right.
cycle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And that's what they're able to find. And so there is a patch that focuses on that, and it's called Kick It, interesting enough. So you want to kick the addiction,
Yeah.
whatever that addiction might be. And so it helps to reroute that part of the brain that has that, it's in a loop, it's in a cycle. So there's a couple cycles that people could go through, whether it be an addiction type of a cycle, or maybe possibly having an obsessive kind of, in a sense, a disorder that's causing them to continuously feel like they have to do something. But also people who always ruminating about certain things in their mind continuously, and it kind of keeps them remembering in a cycle. That's another part of the patches that can help. And there's a peace patch that can be coupled with a focus patch, even a joy patch that can help to reroute part of those things.
All right. And this is something when you recommend this to patients, is that what you call them?
I say clients usually.
Yeah. Okay. But it's not just, here, see you in 6 weeks. They can call and
Yeah.
it kind of, they come with you. It isn't,
Right.
you don't just slap on an inspection sticker and see you in a year, right?
So the way I try to work with everyone, all the clients, is I'm like, you can go to my website, askcoachamanda.com. You could call me at the phone number that I have, which it's 978-400-3320. So again, that's 978-400-3320. And what I would initially do is just try to understand and listen to the concern that you have. And naturally, we're talking about patches, and you might think, oh, I'm going to need a patch for that. But I'm trying to just understand what really is the concern, the situation. How are you trying to take yourself from one level to the next? And what have I researched or understand is available out there that can help bridge a gap or get you closer to where you're trying to get quicker? Because what I've learned is there's so many different modalities out there that can help focus you on getting you where you want to be. But until you're ready for it, until you're looking, as they say, I think the mentor appears when the student is ready.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like in Tai Chi,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know
you
it, yeah.
definitely know that.
And
but
that, it's true. It's so true.
So I just
Yeah.
want to be able to help people get there, and utilize some of the resources that I have, because I talk to so many different healthcare professionals that are willing to look outside of the box per
Yeah.
se and open up their scope.
Now, we were talking about this, one of your clients is a Reiki practitioner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, again, the Reiki, and again, I'm not an expert on that, but
Me either.
they work with different energy levels, chakras,
Mm-hmm.
and try to open up channels in the body and, get some relief from whatever, if it was a physical thing or an emotional tie to something or whatever. So she comes to you looking to see what maybe could benefit her clients with these.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and for some people, they're saying they're getting some of the relief that they need to from the Reiki on certain elements or physical conditions that they might have going on a natural standpoint. And they're saying, okay, what's the next thing that can take them to the next level? Some people are still looking for an option for weight loss, but they don't want to have to think, how can I go on an extreme diet, or what can I use to help me on the diet? So there's the patch, like I was talking about, which helps with cravings. So that's the Kick It patch. And that one can help with the mainly craving someone would have. So could be the late night getting up, sleepwalking, and then
Yeah,
going to the
yeah.
refrigerator and
Yeah.
eating something.
Or I sleep better on a full stomach. That's my excuse. I do good all day, and then it's
then
like
it's at night.
those nachos are right there waiting for
Oh, fair
Yeah.
enough. And so you probably have a craving for it at that time of night too, because you're used to it. So it can help break some of that cycle too. But then also there's an Ignite patch, which helps with that resting metabolic rate. So it might make it easier as somebody's working on trying to lose some weight, and giving them another option that is no medication and no supplements. Because again, there's nothing in the patch. It's just a pattern. Yeah.
me. Yeah, but it does go into the muscles if it's again, I'm thinking a patch for your sore back, and that's got the ingredients in it.
So none of these patches have any ingredients
Right.
in them.
But they will go deep enough to help relieve a sore muscle. Or
Yeah, so the patch, what it's doing is it's actually sending a message to that part of your brain, that neurological pathway that's dealing with pain. And it's helping, if it's misaligned because you're in pain right now, it's helping to actually put it back into alignment to where it should be. So I don't know the best way to show this, but yeah, it's putting it back into alignment to where it's then not sending that same pain signal to the area that you're at without necessarily going deep into any of the tissues or anything. It's literally working with the neurological pathway. So you could be having a different, like a salon pause, if we're going to use that as an example, because you're talking about it. That kind of a patch on that might provide some heat to the body, or that methyl that is kind of working too, but also it's not working with that neurological pathway like the Freedom patch, which is the one that has to do with the pain. That would be working with it like that. So then there's also patches that have to do with anti-inflammatory. So it works with the inflammation that may be going on too, where that is misaligned.
why don't we take one out? Do they all
Yeah.
look the same?
They're
I don't know if we can
Yeah, they're
maybe zoom in
actually
on.
a little different. So the pain patch, the best way I remember this, it's called the Freedom patch, and it's free from pain, but it happens to be pink. So I think pink equals pain. That's what I say.
Yeah.
But it's a pink patch.
All right.
Okay,
Can
so
that
I'll
get
let you
zoomed
hold
in
that
at all,
one.
just so people might see it a little bit? Oh, okay, much better. So it peels off, and then it has that, like a surgical
Yeah, it's that
material.
adhesive. part.
Adhesive that'll
Yeah.
stick to it, so not bad, yeah.
And then
That's
the
it.
Liberty one, it's like a bluish patch. You can
Oh.
see it's maybe a little bit different next to the
Yeah.
pink one, but you can see the kind of size of them.
Wow. It's like putting a microchip or something. I don't. Yeah. It's different.
But
That's
you
for
can
sure.
peel it off. And here's what I love
Yeah.
about the patches, and I can't recall if I said this last time. But okay, so we think about medication. Well, let's talk about food. So with food, we like it, we need it for to sustain life. So it's something that we continuously will need over the course of our life. And you know, our body's using it for energy. But you can never say, I'm not going to have any more food. Otherwise, we know what the consequence would that be in the long run. Not good. Okay, so then we think about medication. With medications, generally what happens is it depends on, we'll use pain medication if we want for an example, because most people understand with pain, but they might say, I respond quickly with maybe one Tylenol, but then if they have a more severe headache or they have more severe pain, they might need a couple Tylenols, or they might need something more than just Tylenol. Maybe they're going to add some ibuprofen to it because they might have some inflammation going on. But over time, they might say, I don't respond as well to just one or two. I might have to increase it to two or three, especially higher degree of pain, but also because their body's becoming a little bit more maybe tolerant to a medication.
Right.
And that happens more with our narcotic type of medications
Yeah.
that someone might take. They might say, I take one Percocet versus two, and I don't respond the same way. And so they start having a couple more. What I found interesting about these patches is because it's working with the neurological pathway, and it's having something called neuroplasticity taking over. So that basically is causing it to where it's rerouting and increasing the number of neurons that are working in a certain area. So it's helping to have something called like muscle memory. It's more like neuronal memory happening.
Okay, yeah.
It's the best way to think about it. Well, if the neurons are remembering things, then that means once they're able to create the pathways that they need to where they're remembering, over time, instead of you building a tolerance to these patches, you no longer need to use these patches.
Yeah.
So
it's
you
sort of like how they
decrease the amount.
repair the roads here. And this is you're good for another 10, 15 years
Yes.
before we got to rip the road up again.
Yes, so you just use it more
Yeah.
for maintenance later on, opposed to thinking, oh, if I use these patches a couple times, then I'm going to always have to use these patches. Or if I want to have this for pain, if one's good, then two's got to be better. Technically, over time, it should be less.
Now that's something to think about.
Yes.
It's something.
It's quite incredible. To me,
Oh.
that was like when I heard it from talking with the CEO of the company and just trying to understand how it worked and everything. I felt like that was like a mic drop moment for me because I'm like coming out of, focusing so much on medications and having a doctor's of pharmacy and
Yeah.
recognizing that so many people you have to take one medication to help with the side effect of another medication and you might have to increase the medications. This is going to the root of a problem in a whole different way to where you deal with the gut-brain axis,
Yeah.
then you have a skin-brain axis, and it's
It's in a category all its own. I mean, there's, I guess, the benefits, and you might say, oh, it's a medical benefit, but there's no medicine in it. So you could take these or, try them and just see if it works for you. How is it not going to work?
okay. So, and that's a very good question. It's like, if you were to go online and look these up, you'd be like, well, it says a 95% customer satisfaction. Where's that other 5%? Why aren't they satisfied? There are some people out there, which you would know who you are at the end of the day, but you're allergic to Band-Aids or surgical tape. You're
Oh.
allergic to 3M surgical tape or Band-Aids. You get really big welts on your skin and you cannot have them. Then unfortunately these patches wouldn't work for you because there is an adhesive on them. So it can't be 100% satisfaction guaranteed because maybe someone didn't realize that they had that allergy to a surgical tape adhesive because maybe they've never had to deal with surgery before. Now they try this patch and like, oh my goodness, not good. The other part of people who would say, I don't see that the patches are working or not for me. And I will tell you, I've had this happen with a client that I had. He told me, I think he called me up, and I usually say, you can call me Coach Amanda, Dr. Amanda, Amanda, whatever makes you feel comfortable, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm here for you. I'm supporting you on whatever your journey is. So he goes, Amanda, I'm just going to tell you, these patches do not work for me. And I'm like, what do you mean they don't work? And he said, they're not sticking. They're not sticking on me. And I was like, okay, so tell me, like, where are you putting them on your skin? Because different places on our skin is different as far as how well these patches will stay on you. So just move them around. Obviously, do not put them in hairier places. You got to find like the less hairier part on an arm and all that stuff. He goes, well, they don't stick on me because I shower 3 times a day. And I'm like, okay. So here's the thing. They'll last through the shower. Generally, most people shower once a day. And it's fine. And you can, even though the patches are set to say use them only for 24 hours, I know I've kept mine on for 48 hours and it made it through 2 showers. And then I'm like, I should probably remove this patch. The reason why you want to remove the patch is because your skin cannot really breathe so well under it, so it's obviously going to trap in the toxins, and then you could feel like it feels a little bit itchy if that happens. So your skin's also going to tell you it's time to remove it, especially if it's more than 24 hours. So people who shower multiple times in one day, these patches probably just will not be the best option for them.
But again, where there's nothing in it,
No.
so are they wearing out? Or they're only sending the message? Again, there's no battery,
Right. So that's an excellent question too, and I'm glad that you asked it, Ron. So when the patch is on your skin, depending on where you have it or not, if you're moving it around and the skin around it is causing the patch to wrinkle some, or that pattern is not able to stay flush against the skin, then you're losing the effectiveness of it. If there's water that gets underneath it, I've had people who swim with the patches on, and they say that it stayed on their skin underneath their bathing suit. So I was surprised there. But if there's water that gets underneath it, then you're compromising the ability for that patch to be able to stay flush against the skin. So that's another way to say, so again, so if there's nothing in them or on them, it's like, what wears them out? I have had somebody who who forgot that they had a patch on, and somehow the patch stayed on them for like 4 or 5 days. And they said all that they remember thinking is, that their back kind of itched in this area, and they didn't realize, I still have that patch on about the 4th or 5th day into it. But that whole time, they were still getting the effect because it was still flush against the skin.
That's the thing, right, right. Have the contact with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Another thing, though, I have told people to avoid doing is if they have, like, heating pads or they're, like, putting heat over the patch, I would not recommend that.
Now, you were saying, too, for age-wise, is there infants? Is it a different version of it? Or what is that, just a one-size-fits-all for humans? Maybe we should put it on a dog and see what happens.
So, because of the hair, unfortunately, we can't do it for
okay.
dogs. And we did talk and ask, are they doing anything for pets? Because pets are people too, right? But for now, I can just say the youngest that I'm aware of who has utilized the patch, and this was because she had a 9 or 10-month-old who was trying to walk. And as we all know, at first, it is a little difficult, and then all of a sudden you're walking with no problem. That's
what did I hear for a
thing.
definition? Walking is a controlled fall.
Yes.
That's all it is when you think about it. One direction and you're down.
Yes. So, but the 9 or 10-month-old was just having difficulties walking, and so she thought, the patches, there's nothing on them, there's nothing in them. Let me just try seeing a Liberty patch, which is known to help with balance, and basically agility, different things, even though babies are pretty agile as it is. But that balance was the main thing. She said she wishes she just had it recorded, because the baby went from, a little wobbly trying to walk to she put the patch on. Now, a child at that age is not going to be able to say placebo effect or I know I have this on, so now I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing because they don't even know what the patch is for.
Yeah.
The
No, I
parent
can't
does.
remember what most kids walk at.
Yeah, I
Is
think
it under a year, I think?
it just depends
Yeah.
on the child and males versus females. It can change too.
Yeah.
But 9 months is early-ish. 8, 9 months is an
Yeah.
early walker. In general,
Yeah.
I'd say it's more or less they start doing that around 11-ish months.
Yeah.
12 could
Yeah.
be. So the child was already an earlier walker per se,
Mm-hmm.
but she said it was amazing to watch that difference. So that's a youngest age. The oldest I've had someone utilize the patch is a 97-year-old. And I actually have a video of the person how they walked before and after, and the whole audience said, oh my goodness, they could see it, not let alone the person
Yeah.
could feel the difference.
Now, how about for the, I'm trying to think like people that, like a breathing problem. I don't want to say, like maybe asthma
or allergies.
yeah, or sometimes and it's mostly older people where it's like they're having a hard time breathing.
Yeah. So obviously, again, I'm gonna say check with your doctor if you have any problems
Yeah,
breathing
yeah.
or any concerns with respiratory, because you never know, you could have a bacteria, a virus, something going on. So all of that being aside, and obviously check with your doctor, all of that part. But talking about something that again, not medication, no supplements, just this patch. Again, people who have issues with asthma and basically like a lot of histamine release that would happen and they get a lot of allergies, there's a patch that's called Defend, and that patch is known to help with immunity. What its focus is doing is helping to unclump the red blood cells and helps to like pretty much just add more oxygen into the bloodstream. So it kind of, in a sense, people feel like it frees up some things. So I know people who have asthma, who have allergies. Now, again, I'm not going to claim it cures asthma, or I'm not claiming any of those things, but people who say they have this difficulty, they're still taking their medication, they still have everything, but this seems to really provide some relief for them, knowing it's something that is not an extra medication that they're taking and using.
Now, what about, and I'm still trying to take this apart and figure it out, but they were able to, I'm thinking how they did the DNA, and they were able to map it and figure out all this. It's like, who are they?
The genome, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that's crazy. So it's kind of on the same level where they figure, okay, here's this other pathway that if we're able to work in this scope to get to the brain.
Well, it's just interesting because it's like, and I know you know this with the Tai Chi, it's like everything truly is connected in our body. It's amazing, and it starts, granted, if we don't have a heartbeat, even if we were brain dead, but our heart's beating, we're alive. It's the moment you don't have the heartbeat that obviously it doesn't matter how much activity you had in your head, in your brain, you're gonna pass away. So, but generally speaking, top down, right? So if you're able to get everything in alignment there, and you're working completely throughout the entire body now, so that connectivity and everything, it's there, and these patches are able to say, okay, so the control center of what helps keep us in homeostasis and help keep us realigned, it's starting here with that neurological system, the neurological pathway. That's literally what it's working on.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, I've had some people who, and everyone's different, how sensitive they are and in tune with their body, as I'm sure you come across too. Like some people are just completely in tune with their body. They'll put a patch on, and you can just see like their eyes like completely change, or they'll go, "Oh my goodness, I felt it," and they'll say they just feel an alignment going on.
Well, we'll get, and I call it the aha moment.
Okay.
And because we work with energy, and we'll make an energy ball, or we'll scan the body looking for different pathways that are blocked or whatever. And the look on someone's face, it's like they actually can feel it. And they have, it's a sensation, I guess, maybe that's that, the neurons, like what triggered it? It wasn't like, they stepped on a fire or something. It's like, yo, like that, okay, that's how that message got to the brain. But how did the message get to the brain with, visualizing energy flow?
Yeah. Right? I mean, just from the Tai Chi, thinking, how did they get that energy?
Yeah. Well, one of the things, it's the idea of acupuncture
Okay.
or
Yep.
acupressure is without the needles. You can,
The
they
pressure
like
point.
I guess was if, and again I'm not an expert on this one, but you hold certain points and it's like, oh, your toothache goes away or
It
things like
releases
that.
pressure somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like car sickness or there's spots that you could squeeze and hold. And the one of the points, it's the story that I got, because again it was taught through stories, and it's called the 3 mile point.
Okay.
So what it is, you find your knee, and you use, just like when they measure horses or whatever. So you measure with your 3 fingers, and then right below. And the story is, they'd have to walk from town to town, and they'd get tired, and and they'd find that point, and they'd, work that area around there, and it's like, oh, I get another 3 miles to get to the next town. So it was an acupressure point that helped them
Wow.
get enough energy to continue on with the journey.
Which, again, it's just so amazing. It honestly amazes me because we're, all over 7 billion people in the world. You think about all the different personality differences, how their bodies are working, and just the different modalities that are available out there. And for some people, at certain times in their life, something's going to work great for them. And then they feel like, I'm not getting the same effect. I'm not getting, in a sense, the same high off of that, whatever they were doing. Then they switch to something else.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're able to take themselves to that next level. And then they might go back to what they had before and now get the same effect of it. And so it's like, the key is, how in tune are you with your body to be able to recognize I'm getting results, or how do I change something up, and what else is available for me to try?
So I was just thinking of this scenario, the idea of when you're at the gym. And a lot of people, it's the dedication. So you get there, but then, you're doing 10 minutes on a treadmill. Then you go over and you do your set of weights. And then you do so maybe you're not seeing results anymore, things like that. So is there a patch, I guess, that would, help them get over that sort of rut?
Yeah, so there's a patch that's called the Victory Patch, and that one helps a lot with the performance, and it helps with agility. It helps with range of motion. It helps with energy. It helps with inflammation. It's like a whole slew of different things that particular patch helps with. But also, it helps in a sense with like boost performance. So some people have said they knew before they would have a Victory Patch on maybe how much they could press, and because it increases their strength as well,
Right.
when they are able to press even more amount of weight with a Victory Patch versus not the Victory
Gee.
Patch. So
Well, I'm just trying to think of your market. It's like
it's everybody.
babies crawling, the gym, the elderly, addictions. It's like,
Yeah, so I've just like, call me at 978-400-3320 and we'll see. Is there really a patch for that? Like it'll say there's a patch for that. And there is. The most recent 2 patches that they came out with, it's very much focused on your skin and helping it to they'll show how quickly these patches can work, but within an hour, somebody who might notice that they have a lot of wrinkles showing up in their skin, incredible.
Oh,
An
ladies,
hour
ladies.
later, all of the not all, but like, okay, 95% of them significantly visually changed. And it's interesting because it's like, how is that something to do with the neurological pathway? So what's happening, I'm understanding with that particular patch, is it works also with the endothelial cells. So the endothelial cells that are in your body, it's almost like the skin inside of your body is like another way of thinking about it. So we have our outer skin, then you have your inner skin.
She's the doctor, not me.
So it's working in a way to help repair that neurologically, or sorry, with a neurological pathway. It's working on that side of it.
Now, what about people take the, is it probiotic or the bionic? So I'm thinking, I mean, there can't be a patch instead of like taking your multivitamin.
Right. So, and what I want people to realize too with these patches is it helps to enhance whatever you're currently already doing as well. Because if you think about it, if you have yourself in the true alignment that it should be in, and your neurological pathways working, you're wiring and firing the way, like they'll say, what, hitting on all eight cylinders or something like that. If you are feeling like you're at the top of your game and your performance, and then you adding on to it, taking like a multivitamin, or you're taking your medication, this is only helping it optimizing it. It's taking it to the next level. It's optimizing how you're doing. There's no patch that's necessarily, oh, you don't need to take your multivitamin now. But I can say this, the Defend patch is known to help with the immunity part as well. So that, coupled with whatever you're doing to help yourself stay healthy, is just taking you to a whole nother level. Now, every time I travel, I'm traveling with the Defend patch and making sure that that's on. And I sometimes will do a peace patch because I'll admit it, sometimes missing flights gets me a little bit anxious. But between those two, it's amazing the difference that's happening there for me.
Now, was this out when COVID was big, or is this something that's...
This is new. The company started with socks first, so it was called Vox Live socks before, and then because of the versatility and the recognizing that there's more opportunity to be able to provide a lot of different types of patches too, it was switched, or I should say, helping with the neurological pathways in different ways than just utilizing socks, which is more for athletic performance and for balance. It was switched over to say, let's do patches, and that actually happened in January of 2023, that it switched over to patches. But the research that was into it, the development, was many, many years in the making.
So it was like sewn into clothes?
So it was using the haptic vibral tactile technology. The pattern was put into socks initially, and it was called Vox Live socks. And I've seen incredible testimonies. I had met a person, and she has a whole YouTube channel about how she would shake violently because she was in a couple different car wrecks, and her brain, you would see the PET scans of the activity in her brain, and so it was more red and yellow, showing that the neurons in that area were not working the way they should. She was experiencing a lot of pain. Over the course of time, when she was used these socks, you could see literally on the scans of her brain how it switched from the red and the yellow, which is not a lot of neuronal activity going on and a lot of damage that had happened, to it switching more to blue color and green color, which means there's a lot more activity happening, and those neurons were replaced the way they should be showing up there, and they kind of remade new shunts in the brain, and wires wiring and firing. Okay, so that's one aspect. So you're seeing what's happening in the brain, but you watch her as she went from the shaking, and she still would have a little bit of shaking, but she'd put on the socks and could walk fine, no shaking, anything. And I met this person a few times, and I am just blown away.
Wow.
And
now, I know we do have a lot of nurses and someone that is a doctor watch the show. Okay. So I'm glad they're getting this. But no, you did a great job explaining things and the benefits, things like that. So I'm thinking we can wrap up I want to do one Tai Chi move with you. How's that?
Let's definitely do
Okay.
it. And I would love to just, yeah,
All right.
learn something new for sure.
Good. Okay. So this one we do in class,
Okay.
and we call it a body scan.
Okay.
So it's more of a qigong, but the idea is you put one hand behind the back with the palm facing up,
Okay.
and this hand is what's grounded in, and we're gonna bring up that chi, that energy, and we wand or scan, and we're just looking for anything that's stuck. Could be a
Okay.
thought, could be a stiff shoulder, upset stomach, and I guess sort of like the Reiki idea is we're taking that energy and we're just getting rid of it.
Okay.
And some people can pick things up or not, and we do that, and then once we kind of move it and get it out, now we take that energy and we just drop it straight in. And it's going to go where it's needed. It doesn't have to, you don't even have to think about it. And then we come back. Ta-da. Very good. All right, we had a
Very
great
nice.
show tonight. We had a great guest. One more time with the phone number.
Yes, it's 978-400-3320.
All right, and we're going to do, once this show ends, I'm going to go on my Facebook Live. So you'll be able to see that, and really we'll talk, we'll go a little bit deeper with what the patches can do, and how you can get a hold of some for yourself. Great, so until next time, we'll see you guys. This is Tai Chi for you.